Owen Hart.
Owen Hart. So yeah, we've just had a look at the bracket from last year's Owen Hart for the women's division.
Because that was so long ago, how are we supposed to remember?
If I remember everyone getting their belts, Willow and Ricky, but I did not watch any of the last tournament, which I've now realised it seems to have all been on TV.
Yeah, it would have been on TV.
Means we could go back and watch it.
We could probably,
could be
we
fun.
should, because I do remember it being very fun, especially Ruby. Ruby Willow was really emotional, like, because I mean they hate to actually follow through on women's relationships, but Ruby and Willow had quite a relatively long tagging relationship and had some banger matches together and and it was really good. Anyway, so we can go back and watch that. I don't care about the men's side. I don't remember anything about it.
I mean, of the names on there that I kind of briefly scanned, I wasn't all that interested. But like,
wait, you don't want to see CM Punk Ricky Starks final?
Or CM Punk Samoa Joe again. But yeah, what I did see is like there are a ton of great matches on that women's division. Like Nyla Rose, Willow, we love both of them.
Yeah. Willow Athena.
Yeah, Willow Athena.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and then Willow Ruby Soho. I can't see. Who's the bottom of that? Is it Billy Starks?
Yeah, Billy. It was Athena versus Billy. I think that was around when they would have first joined up. Because
cool.
Athena, I think that was probably like the last time Athena was on AEW. Apart from Battle of the Belts that one time.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
So going into this, if you remember, what was this an easy one to call? Because if you had given me this bracket at the beginning, I would, based on the information that I have now, I would have never called some of these matches.
Yeah.
Like Anna J. Sky Blue. Sky Blue has been getting a push, I feel like, since
kind of then, but they've been so inconsistent with her, so it really could have gone either way, I think.
But like right now, Sky
right
Blue
now,
beats
Anna
Anna
J.
J.
Sure.
But I wouldn't have necessarily thought that when Sky was tagging with Willow.
Yeah.
Britt Ruby Soho, I've never watched Britt Baker wrestle really, but I would have assumed Britt would have won.
Yeah.
You've kind of explained that to me.
They're even
Nyla
more
Rose Willow
about Ruby.
I had like Nyla Rose, former AEW champion.
Yeah.
You kind of assume Nyla, like none of this. Athena Willow, I would have given. I would have assumed Willow won. So what were the vibes going into this?
I don't really remember. I think it was like, because I remember the Owen Hart never really feels like that important, I guess, because there wasn't a belt attached or anything. But it is, they get to win and like have. It was really cool when Willow won because it did really feel like, oh, she's gonna get pushed now, right? Like that has to happen. And I think like on the men's side, like it did feel like, oh, this is gonna be Ricky, or this feels like Ricky CM Punk is at least gonna be like the main story coming into it. And I think it felt a lot less clear on the women's side of just like, well, I think because it was Britt the year before, because I was like, oh, I don't know what they're doing with Britt now. I didn't think she was going to win, but I didn't think it would come... Like, I definitely thought that, like, Nyla Rose was going to be in the final. Not to win, but just to be like, you beat a former women's champion, and that really propels you forward.
Yeah.
Because I love Nyla so much, but they are so inconsistent with... I've said so many of the women involved in this tournament. Like, from last year, like, they pushed her at different points, and at different points, like, haven't seemed to know what to do with her. So I would be like, oh no, she can't win, because what would they do at that point? I don't know. They'd just be like, they've got like nothing for her to do but to put somebody else over, sure. But I would have wanted her to win in that sense, just to be like, maybe that means something for you going forward from here. Especially this would have been just before All In, and the women's title scene was so confusing because it was like, okay, we've got Britt, and Toni and Saraya and Shida, and it was kind of bouncing around those women. I was just like, okay, I needed to escape this area, and it didn't, and and where we've ended up has been delightful with everything Toni's doing. We love it, but I was like, Nyla, come rescue us, maybe. And like, especially like, I don't know, I thought like that's hopefully the place that this go. Either like Nyla's going to be in the final or she's going to win. And I loved Willow to bits. Like, she'd been on TV a bunch at that point, and I'd watched her for the first time and enjoy wrestling, and I loved her and was like, anything she does, I'm going to enjoy it because she's just so much fun. She's so dynamic. So I'm going to enjoy watching her lose this tournament,
Yeah.
like at best. And definitely Athena is like, once again, they're really, like, at different points have pushed her and not, and I was like, this was maybe Athena's, like, tournament to win, so that they couldn't give her the TBS title for some reason, I don't know. We're saving that one for Chris, but maybe she wins this tournament, and then it comes out of this, and she's, like, takes over the division, or like does a whole, like, I have this is way more important than a title, this has got a legacy and like a history that this company doesn't have,
which I mean, you could argue in 12 months there's been very few wrestlers that have been pushed in this division as much as Willow, given that she has gone from being, like, all of the tag stuff being kind of right hand to the TBS title to being a crucial part of taking it off Julia, and then taking it off Julia, and then being the person to debut Mercedes Moné, and now goes into the Owen Hart tournament as the former reigning champ with with a grudge to settle and a chance to win it 2 years in a row, and I'm like, that, like, really even cool. If it started off slow, which I'm sure it did.
There's definitely. I loved everything they did with her and Chris, the tag stuff. But it kind of felt like, we don't know what, especially to start with, like, we don't know what we're doing. Chris had this belt, has lost it. People love seeing Chris on TV. She's got this great relationship with Willow, so we'll put them on a little bit. And it definitely started off being more about Chris than Willow. Yeah. And I feel like, they just, it seemed like an organic development of, like, we love Chris to bits, but she's not as comfortable on camera, especially speaking, like, by herself. Yeah. She's great in a group, and, like, the dynamic back and forth with her and Willow, and it was just she should really be in a faction at some point. She should really be in a faction, Chris. Yeah. Maybe of friends who love each other a lot. I don't know, because we don't appreciate friends at AEW. Only old men and enemies. Only enemies, betrayal, and also brothers. We love brothers. We love brothers, and we love betrayal. So I feel like it seemed organic, like, development of, like, oh no, Willow is so beloved that she's getting some, like, way more time to be on TV than she had before. This is going to go somewhere now, and it was really rewarding in that way. So I do think it's a fair thing to be like, she has been pushed in that way, and it was really smart because she's clearly gotten over so well, so much, so quickly. And it'd be very cool if she did win twice in a row, to be like, I might have lost my belt, but I'm still incredible. But also, to have beaten Willow Nightingale would be incredible for someone. And to, like, put that over as something to be like, Willow is such an incredible competitor that whoever beats her is so, like, is such a person to watch that, like, Willow, after the tournament, should still be in a position of, like, I'm incredible and should have great matches and should be involved in these pictures. I would worry they wouldn't do that.
So my problem is, of the people that I think will beat Willow coming to the tournament, none of them need that, and it will be actively bad for Willow to lose to them, because I think... Because
it won't be, Willow, you beat Willow? It'll be like, oh, of course you beat Willow, you're better than her.
Or like, just it'll feel more storyline than, and, like, more forced through the storyline, because I think Willow loses... in either, if Willow is in the tournament, which we assume she will be...
If she's not, what you're doing.
She is going to be in the semi-final losing to Chris, or in the final losing to Mariah May. And I don't... Like, I don't want either of those things to
Willow,
happen. Chris
I do want Willow and Chris to fight each other. And it should have stakes.
That's a good place to put it. But it really depends what match you want it all in now, which kind of sucks, because Owen Hart shouldn't...
It shouldn't have been about that. Because then it ties your title picture to this tournament, which is supposed to be about, like, it's not necessarily uplifting young talent, whatever, but it isn't like, oh, you won this tournament because you're one of the best wrestlers. It's like, oh, you won this tournament because you had the chance to, like, compete, like, week to week in a way that you wouldn't have otherwise. Like, that's why it was Ricky rather than CM Punk or whatever. You're like, oh, you want to push this guy. Like, CM Punk doesn't benefit from this in the way that Ricky does. And Willow, for example, like, it was a really good thing for Willow to have won. And it's like, yeah, but now, because it has to be the title shot, it's like, what you have... This storyline and the title shot storyline at All In are so linked, and that you can't be doing two different things. And we are, like, so... they have to be doing the Mariah May thing at some point. And that would be perfect timing for it. And it would fit really well because she is younger and less experienced, and, like, her entering this tournament, Toni encouraging her, all that stuff, it would make so much sense. And it would really suck if she then it means, oh, Willow, so we see her come in and we see Willow and we're like, oh, then Willow has to lose. We see the picture of it already, and it's not even that it would bad. I'm sure they'd have a great match, but you would feel really like this isn't happening because it's a good story. It's happening because you need this piece in place for the next thing you want to happen.
Okay, I've got a fun concept, right? Across 4 of the first 3 matches, we have Willow, Mariah, due to meet in the semi-final if they win their first matches. Chris on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah.
Then you have Willow wins.
Yeah.
Chris wins. Toni Storm throws in the towel during Mariah May's first match against, I want to call, Sky Blue.
Or
so that
Deonna,
we get
maybe, because maybe if it's submission style. I think Deonna's beaten her before.
Yeah.
Sky Blue is a reliable patsy to put in against a woman, to be like, you got to beat somebody, you got to beat Sky Blue. God bless, we love her, but they do that a lot.
Sky Blue to win against Mariah. To then fight Willow.
Yes.
But Willow's beaten Sky Blue truly so many times. So yeah, maybe Deonna's better shout because Toni's got the history.
You've never done as well. And there's the history.
And that way you can kind of do that really pushes Mariah to go against Toni. You can have Toni Mariah at Blood and Guts.
Yeah.
So that by the time we get to All In, Toni Willow is this.
Like huge.
Because Blood and Guts is going to be in the middle of this.
Blood and Guts should be somewhere. It'll be July-ish.
Yeah, and this finishes July 30th.
I thought this was July 10th. Anyway, it'll be sometime in July is the final.
But so Toni Mariah fight Blood and Guts, say.
Yeah.
And then we have All In, Toni Willow to take the belt and become women's champion.
And Mariah's like, I have a new love of my life. Because I think